The first sign of trouble wasn't a warning, it was an obituary. The shark came up in pieces, not bitten, not torn, just dissolved. Its head floated past the submarine window. First, the skin peeled backward, as if it had been pressure cooked from the inside. The eyes were still there, bulging, cloudy, staring into nothing. Then the rest of it drifted by in slow motion, ribs exposed. Flesh turned into pale shredded fibers. The smell hit the cabin a second later, metallic, rotten, and somehow warm. Before anyone could even form a word, something slammed into the hull. The sub shook so violently that the lights died for a terrifying half-second. When they flickered back on, the abyss outside was no longer empty. It was moving, not swimming, but rearranging itself. Something massive slid beneath us, not one body, but many, fused into a single horrifying shape. Tendrils folded into ribs, fins hardened into jointed limbs, skin pulsed like it was thinking. The sonar exploded with shrieking feedback. Then the water around us was filled with sharks, or what was left of them. Some were missing their entire lower halves. Others were inside out. A few were still alive, swimming erratically, while their organs are outside dragged like macabre ribbons. The thing rose, grotesque, just layers of maroon muscle stacked over sucking rings, and a mouth full of sharp teeth, but a biological grinder that turned, constantly chewing, even when empty. One of the biologists on board vomited. The creature twitched. In less than a second, a spear-like filament shot from its body, punched straight through the submarine's outer shell, and retracted, bringing back a drop of human blood. The creature reacted instantly. Its flesh rippled, and where the blood touched it, new shapes formed. Smaller, unfinished versions of itself peeled off its body, twitching and screaming silently through open gill slits, lining their torsos. The abyss had just learned a new recipe. Us. We fled. It followed. All the way up. When we breached the surface near the coast, the ocean behind us boiled. The thing tore itself from the sea. Its lower body hardened into crawling limbs made from coral-like bone. Water poured from thousands of breathing pores along its sides. On the beach, people froze. Phones were lifted, documenting the end. Then it struck. It didn't bite. It absorbed. Bodies collapsed inward, as if gravity had reversed inside them. Skin split, bones bent, lungs filled with salt water instantly. And those who didn't die changed. They rose again, gills pulsing along their necks. Their eyes sealed under milky membranes, jaws unhinged wide enough to swallow a man's handhold. The creature's blood splashed across the sand, and where it landed, more things grew. Each bullet fired by the police created 3 more monsters. Each explosion only fed it. When the army arrived, they just made it worse. Missiles turned it into a storm of multiplying flesh. Tanks were dragged into the surf by things that had once been soldiers. Jets fell from the sky when airborne spores that once had human lungs clogged their engines. The 8 biologists from the sub never made it past the evacuation zone. The creature found them by scent, by heat, by fear. Our submarine was crushed like a tin can on dry land. None of us screamed. Our bodies were just repurposed. Days later, the coastline was unrecognizable. Buildings were hollowed out, filled with pulsing nests. Streets were permanently flooded. The ocean had advanced inland, not with water, but with living terrain. Humanity retreated to the mountains. Those who survived learned one thing, purely by accident. One man firing blindly as something lunged at him struck the creature directly in the eye. It convulsed, collapsed, and did not regenerate. The eye wasn't for vision. It was the control node, the brain of the colony. But by then, it was far too late. The ocean was still moving, and far, far beneath the waves, more of them were waking up, and they were learning.